It began with whispers. Not the loud kind that echo through schoolyards, but the ones passed from mouth to ear, like old village secrets. There was a girl at Kisiwa Secondary School no one truly knew, yet everyone talked about. She was always there, quiet, covered, eyes downcast. Her name was Marah, and she never showed her face, not once. She walked the halls with a scarf wrapped tightly around her head, hiding her cheeks, her nose, even her mouth. Some said it was for religious reasons. Others said it was a curse passed down from her ancestors. But no one asked. No one dared. Until her last day at school. That was the day everything changed. And the truth. It was far more terrifying than anything we ever imagined. The first time I saw her, I had just transferred from Nairobi to Kisiwa. My father's job in the Ministry of Agriculture had brought us to this quiet lakeside town in western Kenya. I expected a sleepy school. I didn't expect her. It was a warm morning in Term 2. The sun lit the cracked red tiles of the school courtyard. Students were chatting, leaning on the old mango tree near the science block. But when Marah walked past, the chatter dimmed. A subtle hush fell. She moved like mist, soft, unnoticeable if you weren't paying attention. Her scarf was a dark maroon, thick and heavy, wrapped so tightly it left only her eyes visible. Deep, solemn eyes, the color of river clay. I sat beside her that day in Kiswahili class. Not by choice. There were no other seats left. The desk next to hers felt colder than the rest, though it stood in the same patch of sunlight as everyone else's. "Mind if I sit here?" I asked. She nodded silently. No smile. No greeting. Just moved her notebook slightly to make space. She wrote with a graceful hand, each letter curved perfectly, like Arabic calligraphy. I caught a glimpse of her poem's title, Mizimu wa Kimya, The Spirits of Silence. "That's a deep title," I said, trying to sound casual. Her eyes flicked toward me. "It's not a poem," she murmured. "It's a warning." I chuckled awkwardly. "Right. Got it." She turned back to her page, unbothered. And yet, for the rest of the lesson, I couldn't stop looking at her. Later that week, I heard the first real story about her. "She's been here since Standard 3, said Diana, a prefect with gossip as sharp as her cornrows. "Always covered like that. Some say her family comes from the hills near Nondi Rock. Witchcraft, you know." "She doesn't speak unless she has to," added Moses, a Form 4 boy with more theories than sense. "One time she laughed during assembly, and a teacher fainted. Swear to God." They laughed. But it wasn't hearty laughter. It had an edge. Like they weren't sure if they believed it, or feared it was true. Strange things started happening soon after I sat next to her. First, the birds. They stopped perching on the classroom windowsills near Marah. Instead, they circled above, cawing madly, as if warning us. Then came the smell, damp soil and burning charcoal, every time she entered a room, even when it hadn't rained. By the end of the month, the school generator shorted out 3 times, always during her Kiswahili period. The last time, a low chant seemed to hum through the speakers, even though no one had a microphone. The teachers acted normal, or pretended to, but you could see it in their faces. Tight smiles, tense eyes. They knew something. Then came the day of the storm. It wasn't in the forecast. The morning had been blazing hot, dry as bone. But by 1:30 p.m., black clouds churned above Kisiwa like boiling ink. Marah was sitting alone, as always, near the back of the dining hall. The windows began to rattle, though the wind hadn't yet picked up. A low vibration, like drumming from beneath the ground, rippled through the walls. And then the lights went out. Screams. Plates clattered. I looked up just in time to see Marah rise slowly from her seat, scarf rustling like dry banana leaves. And for a second, just a blink, her scarf shifted. What I saw underneath wasn't a burn. Wasn't even human. It looked like another face. Smaller. Twisted. As if her real one was wearing a second skin. Then the lights came back on. She was gone. That night, I had the dream. I was in a long corridor, our school, but older, with rusted doors and strange tribal markings on the walls. The lights above me buzzed and cracked. At the end stood Marah. She held her scarf in her hands. Her hair was long and matted, but her face was not hers. It was like looking into a pool of ink, shifting, formless, with eyes that didn't blink. And as I stared, I began to hear voices, soft and ancient, speaking in a language I'd never learned but somehow understood. She is the vessel. You must not unbind her. The end begins with sight. I woke up screaming. My pillow soaked. My room smelled faintly of burnt charcoal. The next day, I went looking for answers. I spoke to Mr. Juma, the school librarian. An old man with grey dreadlocks and a voice like cracked wood. Marah Moyo, he said, frowning. That girl is old. What do you mean, old? I asked. He hesitated, then stood and walked to the back room. Returned with a dusty ledger. He flipped through yellowed pages. Look. My eyes widened. There it was, a record of Kisiwa Primary School. 1992. Nearly 30 years ago. Her name was listed among the pupils. Marah Moyo. Same handwriting. Same seat number. Same scarf. She's been here, he whispered. Longer than she should have. The final straw came the week before term break. The headmaster announced a special assembly. Everyone gathered under the school's neem tree, whispering. Even the breeze felt off. Too still, too heavy. Marah stood at the back, arms folded, her scarf tighter than ever. Marah, Headmaster Oching said into the mic, will be leaving us next Friday. Murmurs rippled. No one had expected that. Then, the sky dimmed. Not the usual dusk. It was like something was blocking the sun itself. Marah looked at me. And I swear, in that moment, her eyes weren't human. They were pitch black. No whites. No pupils. Just endless dark. She turned and walked away. And that night, I found a note in my desk. 4 lines, written in the same precise, eerie script. She is wrapped in cloth not for shame, but to cage the fire and the name. If ever her face you see unveiled, the land will weep, the sky will wail. I didn't sleep that night, because I knew, next Friday was coming, and I was going to see what lay beneath the scarf, whether I wanted to or not. That Friday crept up like a shadow. Every day leading up to it, Marah seemed different. Not louder, not exactly. Just heavier, like there was something pulling her deeper into herself. Her scarf looked tighter than ever, and her footsteps had lost that light, ghost-like grace she used to carry. Now, she walked like she was dragging chains. And people noticed. Not just me. Diana, the prefect who used to whisper about her in the girls' latrine, stopped talking altogether. She kept glancing over her shoulder, even when Marah wasn't around. Moses, loudmouth Moses, hadn't made a joke all week. I heard he refused to sit anywhere near the back of the class now. There was something in the air at Kisiwa that week. It felt thick. Charged. Like when you're in a village just before a storm breaks, when even the goats go silent and the wind forgets how to blow. I kept thinking about the note Marah left in my desk. She is wrapped in cloth not for shame, but to cage the fire and the name. That last line haunted me. The morning of her last day started with a silence I will never forget. It wasn't just quiet, it was wrong. Even the birds didn't sing. The whole school was gathered under the neem tree again. The headmaster stood stiffly in front of the assembly. You could see the unease in his posture. He kept fiddling with his cufflinks, like his shirt was choking him. We are gathered today, he began, to bid farewell to one of our oldest students, Marah Moyo. Oldest. That word stuck out. He didn't say long time. He didn't say bright or talented. Just oldest. Marah stepped forward from the back, slow and quiet. The hem of her skirt brushed the dusty ground. Her scarf was black this time. Not maroon. Black as charcoal, wrapped tighter than ever. She stood in front of us like she didn't want to be seen. But I was watching. We all were. "I don't have many words," she said, voice barely above a whisper. She didn't have to shout. Somehow, even the wind had stopped moving. "I've stayed too long. Longer than I should have. But not by choice." Her eyes lifted, dark, glinting with something too ancient for her teenage face. "The truth is, I wasn't meant to be seen. But you've already looked. And now, I can't stay hidden forever." Whispers erupted. Someone near the front crossed themselves. I felt a chill crawl down my back. Like something, some ancient presence, had entered the schoolyard and was listening. After the assembly, she was gone. No one saw her leave the school gates. No goodbye. No handshake. Just vanished. But that wasn't the end. That night, the first scream came from the boarding house. One of the girls, Fatuma, said she saw Marah standing at the foot of her bed. Scarf gone, face shrouded in smoke. No mouth. Just 2 eyes, pitch black and leaking something thick and red. Fatuma collapsed. Her parents came the next morning and took her away. She hasn't spoken since. Then it spread. By Tuesday, 4 other students had reported seeing her. In mirrors, in reflections on their phones, once even on the back window of the school bus. Some said she whispered their names. Some said she asked for hers. But me, I hadn't seen her. Not yet. I started walking home from school a different way. I didn't walk past the neem tree anymore. I stopped sitting near the back of the class. And still, I felt her. Watching. Waiting. Then, one night, I stayed late for a prep session in the lab. Everyone else had gone. The halls were quiet. Too quiet. I took the back stairwell, the shortcut past the water tanks. And that's when I heard it. A soft rustle. Like fabric sliding across concrete. I stopped. Turned. There she was. Standing in the shadow under the staircase. Black scarf. Still wrapped. But her hands. They were shaking. Like she was holding something back. Like her own body was trying to betray her. "Marah," I whispered. She didn't speak. Just looked up. And then, slowly, like a ritual, she reached up to her scarf. She began to unwrap it. I didn't want to see. But I couldn't look away. Each layer she pulled away, the air grew colder. I could feel my skin prickling. My ears rang. The hallway lights flickered. One final tug. And it fell. And there it was. Her face. Except, it wasn't just a face. It was a graveyard. Her skin was cracked, ashen like burnt ground after a fire. Her mouth was sealed shut, like someone had stitched it closed with thread made of shadow. And in place of a nose, just a gaping black void. But the worst part was the eyes. They weren't hers. They weren't anyone's. They were filled with fire. Not metaphorical fire. Real flickering flames, raging behind her sockets like someone had trapped the sun inside her skull. I stumbled back. But I couldn't scream. Couldn't run. She stepped forward. And whispered something in a voice that came from everywhere. "Now you've seen it. It's yours too." When I woke up, I was in the sick bay. They said they found me unconscious by the tanks. I didn't tell anyone what I saw. I didn't have to. The next day, a crack appeared in the foundation of the admin block. No reason. No tremors. Just there, like something had started to break through. And in the days that followed, the air changed. Kisiwa didn't feel like a school anymore. It felt like a waiting room. For something terrible. I still hear her, sometimes. In dreams. In silence. In the rustling of fabric when no one else is around. And I know one thing. Marah Moyo didn't leave. She was released. The first time I spoke about what I saw under the staircase was nearly a week after it happened. I told my aunt. She didn't react how I expected. She didn't laugh, didn't call me crazy. She just sat back in her plastic chair, stirred her tea with that old metal spoon, and said in a low voice, "You looked into something you weren't supposed to." I asked her what that meant. She didn't answer. Instead, she got up, took a tiny calabash from the shelf, and sprinkled a pinch of ash over the tea. She didn't drink it, just stared at the rising steam like it was showing her something. And I remember the next thing she said, word for word. "There are people who carry spirits on their backs like sacks, but some carry them inside. Those are the ones who burn the world when they finally breathe." Back at school, things were getting worse. The crack in the admin building had grown. By Thursday, it stretched across the wall behind the headmaster's office. No amount of cement could cover it. They tried. The workers packed the wall like they were sealing a grave, but the next morning, the crack returned, wider. Then the smells began. Not sewage. Not dead rats. Something else. But every morning now, assembly was shorter. Teachers left earlier. School days were cut without reason. The tone in the staff room was hushed and heavy. And the headmaster, Mr. Oching, was looking worse by the day. Eyes sunken, beard patchy, voice thin like he'd been shouting into a well for weeks. Then, on a grey Monday morning, he made the announcement. "We are closing Kisiwa Girls for the remainder of the term." Just like that. No ceremony. They told us to pack quickly. Parents were called. Some never even showed up. They were too scared to come near the place. Others sent drivers who stayed in the cars and refused to roll down their windows. By 6 p.m. that evening, the campus was half empty. That was 2 months ago. Kisiwa never reopened. They say it's under structural review. But we all know the truth. Something is there. Still. Waiting. And sometimes, when I walk past dusty schoolyards or hear the faint rustle of fabric in the wind, I feel her watching. I know I'll see her again. Not because I want to. Because she never really left. We didn't talk about Kisiwa at home. Not directly. Not over meals or while folding laundry or during rides into town. That night, I dreamed of Marah again. Only this time, she wasn't hiding. She was sitting at the end of my bed, smiling. And behind her, hundreds of faces, all with scarves in their laps, all waiting. And now I don't look in mirrors anymore. Not even to brush my teeth. Because sometimes I catch a glimpse of someone standing behind me. A burnt face. A smile that doesn't end. And a hand. Reaching. Make sure to like the video and subscribe as the stories are just about to get better.